Hello, thanks for watching today. My name is Derek Williams. I'm going to be speaking about the four L's of retirement. Let's just get started off with what the four L's of retirement are. They are income, lifetime income, liquidity, long-term care, and legacy. The strategies associated with the four L's are best expressed with a bucket analogy. So let's first draw out our buckets, draw out our assets. We're going to say that this is your asset column, which is all the money you've accumulated throughout your life. First bucket, bucket number one, is going to be your lifetime income, which is essentially establishing income that will pay for your ongoing expenses. So as your assets pour into your first bucket, eventually it's going to fill the bucket up. That leads us to our second bucket. Second bucket is going to be liquidity. Liquidity, which is basically your reserve accounts, money that can't lose, money that is guaranteed, and money that is there when you need it. So, as your assets go into income, now your assets will pour essentially into the second bucket. That second bucket is liquidity. Now to get into the third bucket. Third bucket is going to be your long-term care bucket, abbreviated LTC. So long-term care is something that most individuals might need at some point in their life. It's either provided by their family or it's provided by outside services. But looking at our society in this day and age, the benefits of Medicare, they will not cover all the long-term care expenses that will likely be needed. So looking at filling up that long-term care bucket, there are a few ways to do that. First way is you can essentially use your assets to pay out of pocket, or you can buy use it or lose it insurance, which is essentially buying long-term care insurance. Or you can buy what is called an asset-based long-term care policy. So if you don't end up needing all the long-term care benefits, there's an asset that earns interest that will pay out upon your passing, essentially becoming a part of your last bucket strategy, which is your legacy bucket. This will be legacy. So let me review this one more time. So lifetime income is essentially establishing your assets so you can have an income that has replaced your paycheck, maybe in addition to Social Security, maybe in addition to some of the other assets you've been coming in, a pension perhaps. It's then establishing sufficient income to cover your expenses. The idea there is to essentially have that done in the most efficient way possible. So let me explain. What this all really comes down to is efficiency. And you ultimately have two options. First option is the Monte Carlo, which is a withdrawal rate simulation, or you have guaranteed income. So look at saying a dollar amount of $1 million. You have two options. And again, this is for efficiency, the efficiency of income. You can take that $1 million and use the Monte Carlo simulation. You're going to get about 4%. At that 4%, that provides you essentially $40,000 of income, and it's using 100% of your asset. Looking at guaranteed income, completely different, because you're able to utilize the idea behind return efficiency and the idea behind the law of large numbers to have an income rate that is much higher than Monte Carlo. The trade-off is essentially mortality credit. As they pull people's money together, invest it, some people live a long time and some people live a shorter time. And that mortality credit allows for a higher payout rate, typically 8%. So essentially, instead of needing $1 million to produce $40,000, all you need here is 50% of the asset. So this is the idea behind income efficiency and filling up that bucket first. So going back and looking at liquidity is interesting. It can be inside a checking account, it can be inside a savings account, or a conservative investment account that cannot lose money and that can guarantee a principal. But these days, there's not very much that is paying a high amount of interest that has a liquidity feature with it. But with the Wealth Maximization Account, WMA, and looking at how that will relate to your overall income strategy, the Wealth Maximization Account could also be a part of your liquidity bucket. Next is long-term care. As I mentioned before, there is an asset-based long-term care that essentially gives you the care that may or may not be needed. But essentially, you will be able to have an asset that is growing, and if you don't end up needing the care, it will be passed on as part of your legacy plan. Now, legacy means something different for every person. And if you're preparing for your legacy to pass on, there are unique steps and unique vehicles and entities that you can use to properly ensure that your wealth is being passed on. This includes ways that you can incorporate what we call human life value assets. And those assets are really what create financial assets in the end. And you can put certain language inside your trusts to pass on what you value in life. And you can pass that on to your heirs. The real idea behind all this is to prevent any fear or worry in your latter years and create a certainty that those in the current generation of baby boomers are striving to meet right now.